Hi everyone, this is Lucy Bilson, your Waterloo artist in residence. I just wanted to share an update about the things that I've been making and also some ideas about what you could be creating at home. So as we've been thinking about parks and trails, I've been exploring how random patterns are created by how things grow and how they behave in the park. This week I found daisies, mushrooms, and even some fireflies. Our question from the scavenger hunt was, what is this space for? And I think my answer this week is that the park space is for things to grow and to spread and to scatter in a way that's kind of unencumbered by human intervention. I then did some drawings of each of these. I didn't get to get photos of the fireflies, of course, but it was quite interesting to see them kind of glitter in the forest that's by the park, which is something I've never seen before. It was interesting to me how the mushrooms were clustered together in these little groups, some groups of 2 or 3 and some groups of many, and how their edges weren't actually smooth but had these kind of little frills to them, which created a really interesting texture and pattern as a whole. The little daisies that spring up through the grass also create interesting visual scattered patterns. Some of them are clustered together, some of them are out on their own, and as a whole, the texture is really quite fascinating. So I have some fun ideas of how you could create scatter patterns at home using things that you have on hand. So I've used lentils here, which feels kind of funny, but you could use corn or you could use rice or anything else you have on hand. Just have a go at scattering them across a piece of paper. Perhaps you put more in a certain area or concentrate them, or perhaps you throw them quite fast or move your paper around, pat them, see how they spread out and see how they scatter. You could then draw around the lentils or take pictures of the arrangement, add lots more on top to create a thicker texture and a thicker scatter, or pare it all back, start again and just look at using a few of them. It's also a really good way to create randomness, because often we try and draw things in a random way but end up making them fairly even across the page, whether we mean to or not. When we scatter things physically, there are voids, there are clusters, and we can't control it. So you might draw around the individual pieces or around the shape it creates as a whole, or take some photos. Any way you want to document is great. Remember that you can upload through our submission form, or you can drop off your submissions at the Waterloo Visitor Centre. Think about other things you might have around the house which you could experiment with scattering. In this case, look, they're falling out already. I've thought about the paper that gets punched out when we have a hole punch, and how scattering these might create some interesting opportunities. Unlike lentils or rice, you could stick these down or glue them down and make them actually part of a work. But just think about how you scatter, how you're throwing them. Are you throwing them in a line? Are you kind of spreading them evenly? Do you move the paper or blow on them? Or just experiment and see what you can create and play around. An important thing to remember as you're playing and experimenting is that we're not necessarily looking to create what you might think of as finished, polished artworks. What we're creating is little pieces of things, experiments, ideas, explorations, which you'll send in to me, and I will work on creating them into a final work in collaboration with all the other submissions. Another way to play in a way that you can't really undo is by playing with splattering paint. So whether you have watercolor paint at home or just craft paint that you can water down a little bit, whatever you have, it's a fun way to play. So I've just got an old watercolor palette here, and I'm going to mix them up with some water and see what we can create by kind of letting the brush drop the drips of paint onto the page without actually touching the page with the brush. And you can kind of add water to get more of a liquid feel that might spread, or try some different colors. It's really about just playing and seeing what you can create. I find that unlike with the little objects like the lentils and the pieces of paper, it's a little harder to control this one because you're trying to get the liquid out of the paintbrush. It does create this really nice randomness. You're also getting different sizes of droplets depending on what's coming off the paintbrush. So if you have any kind of ink or paint or something similar at home, then this might be a good one. You can also try, and this is going to make a little bit more of a mess, but you can try flicking the end of your paintbrush to kind of spray it out in a different kind of way. This piece is still wet, but it's interesting to see the detail of the spray and the different size of the droplets, so something fun that you might like to try at home. So that's it. I just wanted to share a little bit of an update about what I've been working on and some ideas about how you can get stuck in and try some things. You could try these activities or some of your own that you've come up with. I do have a materials ideas page on the blog at lucybilson.com/2021AIR, which will give you some different ideas about materials you can use to create your own responses to the scavenger hunts. So thank you to everyone who submitted. There's still plenty of time for you to send in your submissions for the first scavenger hunt, and we'll be launching the second one next Tuesday, which will be about Waterloo as a bee city.